Check one. This one's way too long. Do not cast me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Psalms 51:11-12. Do not cast me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. Ever felt like that? Like the Holy Spirit's been taken from you? I've felt like that. That's a bad feeling. Oops. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. Salvation is a joy when you feel like you have it. And grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Grant me a willing spirit. I'm going to leave it at that. Grant me a willing spirit. Grant me a willing spirit. That's basically what it is. When we have that willing spirit, it's like a gift. It's like all of grace, everything that makes life sort of bearable and gives you a passage through this life is a form of salvation. And so I like that psalm that basically underlines that fact. Grant me a willing spirit. To our own, I don't know that like we can really have much of our own willing spirit. I don't know though, that gets into like how much free will we have or not. And that's a topic of endless debate. Do we have free will? You know, that sort of Hindu-ish philosophy, like, you know, none of your thoughts are your own, all thoughts are demonic, like, take away all desires are evil, get to this place of this infinite now. It's like the power of now. But it's like the power of now is like the moment when you talk about those enlightened people, or that theory of enlightenment, that I'm in the now, that I have no desires, that I'm just, everything is satisfied. I'm, you know, the Buddhist thing of all desire is suffering. So therefore, have no desire. I think Burroughs called it cosmic junk, because it's like, yeah, okay, if you desire nothing, then yeah, you have no suffering. But that's like the framework of that is that like life is suffering. That's like the kind of Buddhist framework. Desire is the root cause of suffering. That does make some sort of sense, but I think life is much more than just suffering rooted in desire. That doesn't, I get the sort of concept of that sort of belief system, like, okay, let me take away desire, let me live in the now where there is no wanting or any kind of seeking. I'm just in this moment and that's it. I don't know, there's something I don't trust about that, because it's like there isn't just this moment. I mean, yeah, like on some level it's just now, all we have is now, and then now, and then now, but it's a now that stretches. And I don't know, my framework of life isn't that it's all suffering just because there's unfulfilled desires. I don't find that to be suffering. I think it's kind of fun. I think it's fun to sort of go for a dream, and I don't think all thoughts are evil. I don't think all thoughts are hinged from the devil. You know, grant me a willing spirit. If I have a willing spirit, then my perception of life isn't really one of suffering. It's sort of one, yeah, there's anticipation, but I would say anticipation is a completely different ball of wax than, you know, sort of suffering levels of unfulfilled desire. I mean, I don't think I often have suffering levels of unfulfilled desire. I mean, I have tons of unfulfilled desires. I'm walking around all day, every day with unfulfilled desires, but my experience of that isn't suffering. It's just, yeah, it's just whatever. Life's a gas, like T-Rex says. Life's a gas. It's fun. It's fun to not have everything you want necessarily all the time. I don't know. And then, you know, you make things happen, you get a vibe going, you spark creativity. Sometimes those unfulfilled desires manifest, and that's exciting. But, you know, you don't chase your tail all over the place trying to make them happen. Do not cast me from your presence. See, that's the other thing. If you feel the presence of the Holy Spirit, life isn't suffering. That's just not my take. Kind of like this one, just super black and nothingness. If I do some of this stuff, some white, you won't really be able to see it. But it's there. Let's see what else. Do not cast me from your presence or take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit. So, see, restore to me the joy of your salvation. So yeah, without God's salvation, perhaps the suffering and the desire is too much. But if you have the Lord's salvation, then it's not too much. Then life's a gas again. I don't know. That whole power of now, the infinite now, going into the now, like just that whole sort of like I am nothing. I'm just in this infinite moment of now nothingness. That Eckhart Tolle, but he's not alone. There's lots of gurus that sort of claim this kind of enlightenment feeling, and it never sounds good to me. I mean, it sounds good to me compared to horrendous levels of suffering. Compared to that, it sounds wonderful. But life is not horrendous levels of suffering. Horrendous levels of suffering are part of it. But I've never been to a place where there wasn't some form of exit for me. Some way to cope with the moment. Even in the most extreme levels of suffering. There's always been a way to cope with the moment. And I suspect, I just have faith in God and sort of leveraged my life on that for a long time now. So, what's it like for you guys that don't have that? Comment below. I would love to know. I think I got into like 12-step rooms 4 days before I turned 21. 4 days before I was legal. And since then, it's been very God-oriented. Very, God, please help me. The experience of that has been, He has helped me. And I've definitely done a lot of the power of now, Hindu, I want to be enlightened, but something about it strikes me as anti-life. But I could be wrong about that. Let me know if you think I am. And state your case. Because, hey man, it's just... we're all just out here theorizing, right? None of us have to get upset at each other's beliefs. I think this is cool black and white like this. I'm going to leave it like this. Do not cast me from your presence, please. Lord, do not cast me from your presence. I feel your presence now. Creativity brings me back in the presence. Or take your Holy Spirit from me. Don't take the Holy Spirit from me. If I have your presence and your Holy Spirit, I am in the now. And I'm also anticipating tonight and next week and thinking about the past as well. But as long as that's not like obsessive, as long as I'm not like, in months I'll be happy then when this, as long as I'm not doing that, or just obsessing on the past, like, it was so much better then, as long as it's just a potpourri of the now mixed with those elements that are kind of fun, in their right balance, in their right place, make the now better. What's better than now? I'm sitting here making a video doing this. This is fun. This is now. I don't think my life's getting better months from now, but I think months from now, cool things are going to happen, and I like thinking about that too, here and there. But very soon, I'm about to take my daughter to the park. That's going to be awesome. And I'm blessed, and I know that. I'm not like trying to say, I'm blessed, but you also create the feeling you have about your life and all that too. So yeah, restore to me the joy of your salvation. I like that it says joy of your salvation, and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. That's the willing spirit. Sort of when you agree with the way life is, and you don't try to make it something else. I've been listening to this pastor, I won't name him, but everything is so extreme in his view. All thoughts are Satan. People are evil in nature. I just don't think that's true. I think man is fallen. I think people have definite yin and yang shadow. I think people are not all light and rainbows and unicorns and all that. People are certainly full of shadows and darkness. But I just don't see it as bleak as I think that other view is very hardcore and takes away a lot of the magic. And maybe that's like some rose-colored glasses that I'm wearing, but I do believe people have love, and I do believe people have light. And I think it's a mix. And I think they're fighting for that. And I think we fight for that. Restore to me the joy of your salvation. Because there's salvation when we become one with the Holy Spirit. There's a joy there. So it's not the love that emanates from us, though we are receptive to it, we are open to it, and we are capable of it with the help of God. Grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Alright, I think that's enough for this one. I'm not even going to read the whole thing. Let's see what it says. Read the full chapter. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your unfailing love, according to your great compassion. Blot out my transgressions, wash away all my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. Anyway, that's a good prayer too, but I think we covered it. Grant me a willing spirit. Grant me a willing spirit. Love it. Peace, y'all.